Hey everyone, it's Matt with Revizto. So today I want to talk to you guys about Flash automation inside Revizto and just give you a brief overview of how that works. I know a lot of people might be new to Revizto, knowing Flash automation came out about 2 years ago. So just wanted to show you some of the powerful features and just how simple and quick it is to set up a test and really create results that are really refined and creating meaningful clashes rather than trying to sort through thousands. I'll show you how to get the most out of it. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So the first thing we're going to want to do is really create search sets. And I'm going to create a test example. It'll be structural steel versus MEP and fire. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to create a search set. And that's one of the real big values that Revizto provides is its ease of use in creating really powerful searches. And just how quick it is to create it from the properties of an element. So what I'm going to do in this example is show you how to separate the steel from the concrete model. As you can see, this is the structural model here, and I just want to get the steel. So what I'll do first is open up my properties palette. Find that right here. And you can see if I click on an element, it'll give me some example or properties really from the authoring software. So you can see all the different properties that are available. So I'm actually going to look by material. So if I'm just looking for steel, you can see I can just search for it and I'll just highlight on that palette where that property is available. So there it is. And I'll go ahead and create a search from this. And you can see I'm just right clicking on that property and just how easy it is to actually create a search from the property. So I'll go ahead and create a new search. There it is. It's opening up the find objects. So it's showing you the criteria that it's searching for. I'm actually going to want to search within a search because right now it's looking at everything and all the models in there. So there might be a lot of models in your project. So if I want to make sure it's looking at a specific model, I'm actually going to want to make sure it's looking at a source file. So I'll go ahead and click to look at the search set for the structural model. Now let's go ahead and see what it does. So you can see it found pretty much all the steel. There are some elements still that didn't get picked up. So what I'm going to do here is actually just select those elements that it didn't find and try to find a property in here that'll be common to pick up the remaining steel. So under the name is pretty much the easiest one. You can right click on that, go ahead and add that to the current search. And you can see right there, I'm building out this criteria very specifically to the properties that needs to find to really refine this search. Change that to or. And instead of the equals, I'm going to go to contains and I'll take out this property. And I'm actually just going to type in the keyword that I need, which is steel in the name. And I'll go ahead and look at that and see right there. It already actually selected all the steel. I can actually make sure it's not finding anything else by negating a specific search set. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's just make sure it doesn't include the concrete. So right there, and I'm going to actually say negate. So it's going to contain all this, but not this search under the structural model source file. So there we go, it worked. And I'll go ahead and save that out. Give that a name. I'll go ahead and put it in a specific folder. Structural. There we go. Okay. Okay, so there we go. You can see there's the search. You can see all the other searches I've already created. I got source files. You can see there's more specific ones for mechanical systems. So what that would look like, you can see if I switch over to viewpoint here that I have set up, I can actually start flexing these. And you can see there's my fire, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. So now that we got those searches created, let's go ahead and set up a test. And I'll show you how to set up those tests. So let's go ahead and switch to Flash automation. And that icon is right here. Let's go ahead and go back to my home view. So right here, I already have the test set up, so I'm not gonna create a new one, but I'll show you how all the different settings inside this test, what they do. The first one that you're gonna wanna know is obviously the selection criteria. So let's go ahead and open that. And you can see there's my steel search. So search set A on the left is red, and then your B will be green. Those will be the colors that it's gonna use. And you can see all the different searches that I'm creating on search set B that I want to clash against the steel. Now, steel obviously is going to have priority in this test, and so all clashes with steel will be automatically assigned to any searches in B. And you'll see it actually will know which search set B will be assigned automatically to the right trade partner based on clash automation. So there's the searches. Go ahead and say done. And then you can obviously set up rules for ignoring clashes. I usually leave these on, and then I do check the duplicates and both objects from the same model. And then you can also include some more specific elements or search sets to ignore. So you can see I have a couple like flex duct, some of the duct insulation, and the sprinklers that are in the design model. So let's say apply. And then under clash type, you can see we have a variety of different clash types you can create. Because this is steel, I'm actually going to want a clearance, and you can see the little animation of what that looks like. There's hard clash. You can see that that's just two objects touching each other. There's no tolerance. And then there's the clearance. That's the one I'm going to use because steel doesn't have this fireproofing on it, so I want about an inch of clearance around that steel to make sure there's no clashes with any of the fireproofing as well. But you can see there's a variety of other ones in here, like clearances, tolerances directly above and below. So let's go ahead and exit out of that. And then the grouping. This is probably one of the most important parts of setting up your clash test to get really refined results and consolidating your number of hits into just the minimal amount of groups. So you can end up turning 1,000 clashes into a couple hundred. And we'll see how that's done. So this will save you a ton of time. So I definitely recommend you spending a lot of time kind of learning how this works. But from my experience, I found, especially when you're dealing with MEP systems, that grouping the system tends to work the best as far as identifying it. And what that's going to allow the clash detection to do is just group search set B, which is, you can see I've set up here. It'll run any steel clashes with that system will be grouped automatically, and you can see it's prioritized. I can actually adjust these if I wanted to, but I do want that system at the top, and then I'm going to actually group it by level and then also by proximity. So proximity, what that is really basically the specified diameter of that group, of how much of a distance you want to create for those clashes to exist within that diameter, and it'll automatically group them based on that distance you give it. And then there's also a chain proximity. That's pretty much the same thing, but you can see anytime a group overlaps with another group, it'll group that within a max chain size. So, I mean, that's really good for any things like, when you got a ton of clashes, let's say down a corridor, you know that that's gonna kind of be in the same row of clashes. That might make sense to chain that. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick to the regular. And I set that normally at around 25. Some people will bump it up some more. And then the metadata, this is all the metadata that's being pulled from the authoring software. This happens to be Revit, which does a great job getting the metadata over into Revizto. You can see I can get the level, the room spaces, zones, if I set up zones, area, and grids. That'll all be part of those clashes, and that's really important because the power of Revizto is really in its ability to filter data. And so having that metadata is going to allow you to filter your clashes based on those parameters that are brought in, or the metadata that's brought in. So zone's a big one, levels and grids. And then the next one's going to be your view properties or settings. So you can customize those clash colors if you want. I tend to leave these on the default setting. And then these are new features in 5.13. This is your default view based on how when you click on a clash, what view you're going to get. So you can see all the different views, preset views you can create by default. I like the top front left, so I'll stick with that one. And you can zoom in, or how far you want to zoom out on the clash. I tend to like it fairly zoomed in. And then the screenshot setting. So these are the viewpoints that are created and pushed to the issue tracker. When you sync it to our issue tracker, this will be the appearance template that it's going to apply. So we'll actually stick with a custom one I created. By default, it will be set to white. But I'm going to try out this one and see what that looks like. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit OK. And then the issue automation. So this is really important. I have this set up for a more advanced automation because I have a bunch of trades in this clash test. I want to be able to auto assign any clashes with search set B to be automatically assigned to the correct trade. So in this example, you can see the default issues will go to automatically structural steel. If we did a really good job with our searches, nothing will get assigned to them, because obviously anything that does clash with steel will actually get assigned to the search set B. And you can see these are the rules or the conditions I have applied, and it's really the logic that's built in to the clash automation tool that allows us to really automate how it's going to assign these clashes to the right trade. So you do need to set up stamps. You can see here when I click on the edit, all the stamps that we have in this project already, but you will want to set up some clash stamps. You can see there's some right there. I have this assigned to obviously mechanical. So what this rule's doing right here is it's basically explaining it right here. If there's a clash group that has at least one object B, which obviously mechanical is part of that search set B, that matches this specific search set. So you can see the rules that I'm putting in here. As long as that search set B contains that search, I want Revizto to basically apply this stamp to that. And you can see the preset criteria that's filled out in that stamp automatically when we set up those stamps. And so it's just going to the next one. If there's anything that's in this search set electrical model that's in object B, I want you to assign that to the electrical contractor. So you can see there's plumbing, fire. Otherwise, I want you to assign it to structural steel. So that's the advanced automation. It's very powerful, but that's how I'm able to really take out a lot of that busy work of having to assign things manually. That would take a lot of time. Okay, so now that we're done setting up our test, we'll go ahead and run it. So go ahead and open it. And you'll see here at the top, you have the options to run the test. I could sync the clashes with the issue tracker, or I can do both. So we'll go ahead and run it. And I've already ran this test before, so it's not going to pick up anything new, but it will give you an idea of how long it typically takes to run a test. Okay, so no new clashes were found. And you can see here, I have the option to check this test out, which I do want to check out. And what that's going to do is going to prevent anyone from being able to go and modify the class settings while I'm in here. And it's also going to give me the ability to change the status of the clashes, since I'm going to go ahead and review them. You'll see here at the bottom left corner, it picked up 2,512 clashes, and it was able to auto group them into 607. So about a quarter of my clashes are now auto grouped. So I'm now having to sort through a lot less clashes. Instead of thousands, it's really in the hundreds. And that's going to make this a lot more manageable for your team moving forward. And that's also due to the grouping that we set up here. So again, I would stress the importance of making sure you understand the grouping capability here, because that's really going to save your team a lot of time. You'll see here at the top, there's a number of filter options. So we can, instead of viewing all the clashes all at once on the entire project, we can filter really by, the status of the clash, selection, the search sets if we wanted to, grids, levels. And I also do like to include zones in here. So you can see here, there's the option to add more filters. But since we have a couple zones, 1 and 2, I do want to show those as well. So from the very high level, I like to get a really good idea of how many clashes there are when I run a test. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. And that really just gives you a kind of a heat map of how many clashes there are on the entire project. And then we'll go ahead and filter this by zone. So you can see here, I have all the zones on. If I wanted to, I can just select one zone at a time. Let's see here, if I turn off my section, there's zone 1 and 2. See, just zone 1 is showing and zone 2 is being filtered out. If I want to just look at zone 2, not zone 1, do that. And you can see just zone 2 showing up and zone 1's filtered out. Okay, so I'll go ahead and turn those off. Now we're going to go ahead and start filtering by level. Let's say I want to look at all the ground level clashes. And then these are the ones that have already been synced to the issue tracker. So you can see right here, here's all the clashes I have right now on ground level. And we'll go ahead and look at a couple and send them to the issue tracker. So let's go ahead and look at, so the one you can see is organized by system. Some of them don't have any values. And that's really in the authoring software. There was no system classification assigned to the element. So let's look at some of these. Here's a hydronic supply, has 2 clashes, and you can see it's automatically cropping that group. And it's going to give me that top left view that I set up on my under the view and screenshot settings. So we'll say that one looks like it should be reviewed. Let's go ahead and look at some more. And you can see here, I can sort this. So if I want to see the most at the top, I can just click that. I can sort by room or status. So that's really powerful as well. Let's go ahead and look at this return error. That's got 9 conflicts. You can adjust these views at any time, by the way. So if you want to get a better view, go ahead and save that. So reviewed. We can see in 5.13, you now have the option to change the status to on hold. Let's say there's further information that's required before we can really send this to the issue tracker. So we could change that to on hold. But I do want to say that one's been reviewed. Let's look at a fire protection one. So this one's got 6 conflicts. Let's look at these. Okay, so it looks like there's a light fixture clashing with a column. So that's been reviewed. Okay, so we'll go ahead and send these to the issue tracker. I'm trying to give you an idea of different systems, so you can kind of see the stamps that get automatically assigned, and that was built into the issue automation. So right here on the top, we'll go ahead and sync this to the issue tracker. You can see it does know which ones have been reviewed. And then if we wanted to, we could send them all, but I wouldn't recommend that. You can see it would send all the reviewed and the not reviewed clashes. We just want to send the ones that have been reviewed. So we'll go ahead and sync that. So now we're at this point, it's pushing that information into the issue tracker on the cloud. So now everyone on the team has access to these clashes and can see them. And your detailers can work on fixing them. So right here, you can see I can check out this test again if I wanted to. If I want to change the status and just review the ones that are open, you go. So now we just got 11 groups to review, and we'll go ahead and look at these in the issue tracker, but you can see the stamps got automatically assigned to the right trade. So you can see hydronics assigned Sean. We got electrical assigned to David. Ductwork is assigned to Corey. Here's the mechanical sub. And then we also have a fire sprinkler that got assigned to Laura. So we'll go ahead and look at the issue tracker. And here's the test right here. And you can see basically I have this sorted so it will show the latest one at the bottom here. But you can see that's, timestamp 1048 about a minute ago just synced. It is basically being filtered by assigning and then the date. So you can see here's plumbing, just fire, the electrical. Okay, so there's the duct one. Let's go ahead and look at this one. And you can see I can mark this up right now if I wanted to. So I'm now on the issue tracker. I can mark up the clashes. Then I can also switch to 3D. And you can see I have the options to change the visibility settings as well down here. Or if I wanted to isolate them, I could as well. So go ahead and change that back to transparency. Isolate and transparency. And then in 5.13, we now have the option to actually move this duct and temporarily. So let's say I want to kind of get an idea of how much I need to drop that duct. I can right click on that and move this object temporarily. And you can see right here, go ahead and move that down, make sure it's clearing the duct out of the steel. That's pretty good. And you can see I can update this in 3D. So I'll send this actually to the issue tracker. There you go. Now you can see the history is being built here. So there's when it was synced. I highlighted the clashes, and then I did the object transform, temporary transform to show how much it needs to go down by. Another cool thing you can do actually inside of any 3D view is the ability to actually switch back as well. So what I'll actually do here is I'll actually adjust this section a bit. And I'll send this to, I'll switch back to the authoring software. So if I'm working on Revizto on one screen, I'd probably have Revit on the other. And then I'll just right click. You can see right here, switch back. As long as you have your model open and sync to Revizto, it should work. So let's go ahead and open that up. And there it is right there. It's even highlighted since I had it selected, but you can see how easy that is. And that's a Revizto view. It's set up when you sync it or use switchback, it'll create a 3D view for you. So it's very seamless, very efficient way to sync clashes to the issue tracker and then work on them in Revit. So super powerful. I think that pretty much covers all the tools I wanted to show. So if you guys have any questions, definitely please contact me. But Revizto Clash Automation is super quick. It's very easy to use once you know how to set it up. And it's just providing really powerful and refined results.